growing up as a kid, just watching a lot of comedy, listening to a lot of different albums. Started off listening to a little bit older comedy. Brian Regan was one of the ones, because he was clean and I could listen to him when I was younger. He was one of the ones that really got me into what stand-up comedy is really about. Just watching him and really developing an appreciation for it. So just listening to all those other comics to that, and my dad was in the ministry. He was a minister for a long time. So he spoke on stage as a preacher a lot. I actually ended up getting on stage. I did singing in church and stuff like that. And it really broke the stage fright for me. So I felt like if I could do that, I could definitely go on stage and do comedy. And when I was 19, I said go ahead and start out doing some open mics. I stopped for a while, and then I decided to get back into it. And I loved it. It's a lot of fun. When I was 19 was when I first did it. I was at the other bar.
I was tempted to get another one, but
and the stage fright wasn't as much of a thing, like I said, because I've been on stage before in different venues. But the hardest part was really just going into it and knowing, like, I knew it wasn't going to go well. So going into it knowing that was going to happen. And, so just trying to work through that, trying to actually work your material for the very first time. It's almost like, you just have no idea what you're getting into. And then, of course, once you get 2 minutes into that first set and you realize that 7-8 minutes of material that you thought you had turned out to be 2.5 minutes of material, that's the part where you start to fall apart. And so I ended up doing like 2.5 minutes, called back up the host, who was kind enough to just, thank you everybody, it's a first time platform, that kind of stuff. So it was definitely nerve-wracking, just like anybody else, So, but if you're gonna do comedy, first time you're gonna do it, don't be optimistic. It's gonna go terribly. Just hope it gets better. Right now, I've been listening to a lot of Mark Maron. He's one of my favorites right now. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle's got a comic genius that's just on a level that's fucking way up there. Bill Burr, Louis C.K., the standard ones. Dave Chappelle's newest stuff that he put out on Netflix was really, really good, because I feel like he connected on a whole other level than he did on his older stuff, which was still amazing. But this new stuff that he just put out on Netflix is fantastic. And then once again, Mark Maron. He's just got a certain style that I like about him, and I think he just put out a new one on Netflix as well, which is really good. So, those are the guys that I like watching, and a few of the guys that I draw inspiration from. I'm probably going to go with the older SNL stuff. So basically, from the point where like Adam Sandler and David Spade and those guys were on it, all the way up to the point where the Lonely Island guys were on there, I feel like that was a really good age, for me at least, personally, for SNL, which was amazing. Sitcoms, I guess not really a sitcom, it's a comedy show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's one of my absolute favorite, just the humor they have about it is amazing. I've probably seen the show multiple times. Louis is a good show. Because it kind of gives a little bit of an inside baseball perspective on stand-up comedy from pro comic, but it also delves into his personal stuff, which I like a lot. Those are some of my favorite sketches and comedy shows. I still like the stuff from when I was in high school, Superbad, Pineapple Express, the stoner comedies. Those are a lot of fun. Hangover movies are really cool. Nothing really deep in as far as comedy films that I'm a huge fan of. The Big Lebowski, I guess you could say, if it counts as a comedy film, is one of the ones that I really like. It's just a movie that I enjoy watching. So. I feel like Kyle Kinane or like Bert Kreischer, those would be really fun comics to tour with. Not necessarily to work with that comic, but I feel like they would just have a good time, But there's so many good comics out there that, as far as professionally speaking, to work with, it's hard to narrow it down to that. I mean, obviously, I'll probably have to go with a few of my favorites, like Dave Chappelle or like, Louis C.K. would be fun. I feel like I'll mesh okay with him. Mark Maron would also be really cool. So, in the perfect world where I actually could tour with those guys, it'd be a lot of fun. Anthony Jeselnik as far as roast goes, and Jeff Ross. So there's two already. They're the shoe-ins, obviously. Just so I could have some pros on the panel. I feel like Carlin could probably roast anybody pretty well. He can point out flaws really well. Who is Andy Samberg, when he did the James Franco roast, I think he did a really good job on that. He did like this weird anti-roast thing, so I think it would be a lot of fun to have like that kind of a guy that you don't know what he's going to do, totally unexpected. And I feel like Bill Burr would just be able to dig into me and just make me cry. So I think those would all be really fun comics to be roasted by. Writing. I've always been great with writing. Before I dropped out of college, I was really good in my composition classes and stuff. I worked a little bit of drama on stage when I was in high school, so I feel like sketch and then sketch writing would be a direction that I would love to go in. So. I'd like to see myself developing more within the Orlando scene. I don't have any plans as far as anything like that goes to move on to anywhere. I want to develop my comedy. I want to become funnier. I want to become more respected, but by earning their respect. I'm really focusing on myself. You know what I mean? So if I can develop my time, my 10 minutes, my 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I can actually start getting, guest spots, feature sets. I'd love to be featuring 5 years from now within the local clubs. I'm not setting the bar too high. I just I want to stay on the realistic level. I'd love to be featuring in local clubs in 5 years. Facebook, Caleb Pautz. Twitter handle is @CalebPautz, and I think Instagram is also @CalebPautz. Pretty simple. It's a good thing about having a name that's not too common. So as long as you read my name in the title of this thing and put it into any of those search engines, I'll probably be the first one to come up. So. I just would like the audience to feel like they got to know a little bit of piece of me, whether that's positive or negative. I hope they laugh, and I also hope that they can see just maybe a little bit of a different perspective. Everyone's got a different perspective, and if I can kind of put that out there, but also in a way that's still funny and not too preachy, I'd feel good about that. What's going on? My name is Caleb Pautz. You can go ahead and check out my interview at cutie.com, and really appreciate it. It'd be awesome.